Hey guys, here is the video for this week. So we take a look at the A major, A minor, and D major and D minor chords. You can very easily look up how to play these by looking at a chord chart, but what we looked at is how we get them. So if you remember the last time we learned the E major and E minor chord shapes. What we talked about this week also included the magic B line, which is the fact that for most of the string pairs, if we go from the 6th string to the 5th string, that interval is a 4th, which we can test by going to our 5th fret and seeing that the 5th fret of the 6th string is the same note as the open 5th string. That's a 4th. Same if we go down. But if we go down between the 3rd and 2nd strings, we actually have to go down to the 4th fret to see that it's the same note. Then between the 1st and 2nd strings, it's back to being the 5th fret there. So again, that's, we see if we take here, go back to the 4th fret and then back to the 5th fret. What that tells us is if we have a shape that we're playing, whether it's a scale shape or a chord shape that we have on the guitar, and we move it down one string to the point where it crosses over the magic B line, then we have to make an adjustment to our fingering pattern for it to become the same type of chord. So to illustrate this is what we're going to do, is we're going to take our E minor chord, and if we move it down one string, and now we're going to start our chord from the open 5th string rather than the open 6th string. So now this chord only has 5 notes in it. We go, and if we take the same exact shape, E minor, and we move it down, we get a chord that's almost A minor, based off the open A string. To make it fully A minor, we have to take whatever note is on the B string and move it forward or to the right 1 fret. So that's going to take it from the open string to the 1st fret on that B string. So instead of playing with just the 2 fingers, we add our index finger on the 1st fret of the 2nd string, and then we have A minor like that. Which, if you look, this is actually the same hand shape as the E major shape. So what that illustrates is the next point, where we have, if we take our E major chord and we move it down one string, we get a chord that's almost A major. It's A minor, which is almost A major. To make the adjustment to make it fully work, we have to take whatever note is on the B string and move it to the right by 1 fret. When we do that, well, if we move this note up from the 1st to the 2nd fret, where we would have all the notes now on the 2nd fret. We have fingers on the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th strings, all on the 2nd fret. And again, this is still just only the 5 strings here that don't include the 6th string. So that's A major and A minor and A major. We can also finger A major using our 3 strongest fingers like that. And that's how we get A major and A minor. Now, if we repeat this process one more time, we'll see how we can get to the chords D major and D minor. So first we'll do D minor. If we take our A minor hand shape and we move it down one string, we've crossed even further over that magic B line, so we have to make an adjustment now to keep the same type of chord, which is take our B string note and move it forward by 1 fret. So instead of having this shape that's the same as the E major and E minor, for the D minor chord, we have to take our ring finger and move it up to the 3rd fret. And now it's just these 4 notes, starting with the open D string. Now the D major chord is a little bit different, but it follows the same process. If we take our A major shape and move it down one string, again we're crossing the B line. So what we have to do is we have to take our B string note and move it to the right by 1 fret to fix it. We can't just take our middle finger and move it forward because our fingers won't allow that. So what we have to do is we have to change our fingering. Our index finger will stay where it is, and then these 2 fingers, our middle finger and our ring finger, will switch to form a triangle shape there. So boom and boom. Index finger on the 2nd fret of the 3rd string, middle finger on the 2nd fret of the 1st string, ring finger on the 3rd fret of the 2nd string, and we just play those 4 notes. That gets us D major. So when we switch from D major to D minor, though, what we'll see is we can't just move our middle finger note, which is that 3rd of the chord that we changed to be major or minor. We can't just slide that one backward because our index finger's in the way. So to make that happen, what we do is we keep our ring finger where it is, and then we switch these 2 fingers and move move our index finger back. So for the to go from E major to E minor, we just change one finger. To go from A major to A minor, we just change one finger. But to go from D major to D minor, we have to change 2 fingers. But even though we're changing 2 fingers, only one note is changing for all those. So keep that in mind. Okay, so those are the chords that we learned. We learned A major, which you can finger like this or like this. That one's fine. And A minor, which is just the one common fingering for that. And then D major and D minor. We talked about muting also. So with the A chord, we want to hear the low A string as the lowest note, which means we don't want to hear the low E string. So we're going to use our thumb and just rest it against that the open 6th string, so that if we strum it, we don't hear a note. And that way we can still strum all 6 strings and still hear only the 5 that we want. And same thing with A minor. Again, mute that low E string and have everything else work, so we can strum all 6 strings and have everything sound good. Same with D minor. And D major, we want to have our thumb mute the low E string. Now, we talked about this in class a little bit, was the open A string. There's not really an effective way of muting that one. If you can reach your thumb all the way over and mute both of those strings, great. But also know that by doing that, you run the risk of actually playing a note with your thumb. I don't especially advise that unless you have like a really big thumb and you can reach over like that. So for the D chord, it's sufficient just to mute the low E string. Strum like that. Okay, so for your assignment, what you have to do is you have to arpeggiate each of these chords, and that's going to include the 6th string. So for the A major, I need to hear you mute the low E string and play each note individually, and I would prefer if you would use these 3 fingers rather than these 3 fingers to play A major. And then A minor, same thing. Arpeggiate it 1 string at a time, including the muted 6th string. I need to hear that you're muting correctly. Then same thing with D major and D minor. With this one, when you arpeggiate, it's okay if we hear that A string. We just don't want to hear the low E string. So D major, mute. D minor, same thing. So arpeggiate the chords, that's the first part. And the second part is to look at the group guitar lead sheet that we had for this week. I passed it out in class. Okay, so the group guitar lead sheet that I passed out only has the A major and A minor chords on them, but you're going to do the same exercises for A major and A minor, and then do them again, but with D major and D minor. I don't have a metronome with me right now, but I think whatever the tempo is for the last one, like 80 beats per minute or something like that, that's the tempo that you'll do for this one. So this is what it would be for A major and A minor. Remember, so you're going to play your chords while counting out loud, because the first line's pretty easy, but the second line we switch chords on weird beats, so you need to be counting for that. So this is how you should play it at about 80 beats per minute. So it's going to be like this: 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3. So again, 4 strums per every measure, and then on the second line we have chords that are not evenly spaced, and so that becomes the challenge. Then do the same thing with D major and D minor. So like this: 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Alright, so do that and then send that to me, and then I will see you guys next week for Strum Day, Part 2.